mind just
Mind showing me who it belongs to? We don't usually see folks just walking out to a Gulfstream alone.
It's my aircraft tonight. Charter out a signature. Here's my boarding pass.
Boarding pass doesn't tell me whose jet it is, sir. Name on the tail says Sierra Bravo 78. Who's flying you?
Pilot's name is Captain Rojas. You can call it this.
Officer Michael Patterson had been with the Metro Airport Police Department for 11 years when he made the stop that would cost his department $10 million and end his career. He was 39 years old, experienced enough to know better, but apparently convinced that his instincts about who belonged in the private aviation terminal were infallible. Tuesday afternoon at Metro International Airport's private terminal, he received a call about someone acting suspiciously near the luxury jets. The suspicious person was Marcus Williams, a 41-year NFL MVP quietly boarding his own Gulfstream G650. What Patterson did next, ignoring protocols, dismissing credentials, and escalating a routine verification into a viral incident of racial profiling, would become a textbook example of how unchecked bias destroys lives and careers. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop a comment right now and tell me your country, your state, wherever you are. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Metro International Airport's private terminal sits on the west side of the complex, separated from the main terminals by 2 miles of tarmac and security fencing. It's the kind of place that caters to CEOs, celebrities, and athletes, where discretion is valued and privacy is paramount. The building itself is all glass and steel. Modern architecture designed to impress without being ostentatious. It was 2:47 on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The autumn sun cast long shadows across the tarmac where a dozen private jets sat in neat rows. The afternoon was quiet, typical for midweek when most of the weekend warriors who owned fractional shares were back at their desks. A light breeze carried the smell of jet fuel and the distant sound of commercial flights taking off from the main runway. Marcus Williams had been with the league for 19 years. 19 years of taking hits that would hospitalize normal people, studying playbooks until his eyes burned, and leading teams through victories and defeats with equal grace. He'd spent his first 6 years as a backup, learning the system, waiting for his chance. 4 years after that as a starter, proving he belonged. Then 9 years as one of the elite, setting records that might never be broken. He had 4 MVP awards on his shelf at home, 3 championship rings in his safe. He'd been selected for the Pro Bowl 14 times. His foundation had built 17 community centers in underserved neighborhoods. His teammates called him Professor for how he broke down defenses. His coaches called him the smartest player they'd ever worked with. At 41 years old, Marcus Williams was exactly where he'd worked to be. Respected, successful, and secure. That Tuesday, Marcus was heading to Dallas for a foundation board meeting, flying out on his own jet that he'd purchased 3 years ago. He wore dark jeans, a gray Harvard Business School hoodie from the executive program he'd completed, and designer sneakers. Professional, but not obviously wealthy. His championship rings were in his travel bag. His wallet held his pilot's license along with his driver's license. He looked like what he was, a successful businessman heading to a meeting. He'd done nothing to attract attention. He'd spoken to no one except the FBO staff who knew him by name. But to one person watching from the terminal building, Marcus's presence was a problem. Jennifer Morrison was 28 years old. She'd been a customer service representative at the FBO for 6 months. She had a degree in hospitality management from State University and dreams of eventually managing luxury resorts. She was professional, ambitious, and deeply concerned about maintaining what she called the exclusive atmosphere that their clientele expected. And this Tuesday afternoon, Jennifer had noticed something that made her uncomfortable. A black man in a hoodie walking confidently toward one of the most expensive jets on the tarmac. In Jennifer Morris's mind, something didn't add up. This wasn't the usual customer. The hoodie seemed casual. The walk, too, confident. The direction to purposeful toward the $65 million aircraft. Never mind that she'd seen him sign in at the front desk. Never mind that the flight crew had greeted him by name. Never mind that he'd been pre-cleared by security. Jennifer saw a black man in casual clothes and decided he didn't belong. She watched Marcus for 3 minutes, working up the courage to do something about it. Then she picked up the phone and dialed airport security. Airport police. This is dispatch. This is Jennifer at Signature Flight Support. We have someone here who seems, suspicious. What's the nature of the suspicious activity? Well, he's approaching one of our clients' aircraft. The really expensive Gulf, and he doesn't look like he belongs here. Can you describe the individual? Black male, maybe 40, wearing a hoodie. He's walking toward the G650 on the south ramp. Has he threatened anyone or shown a weapon? No, but he's about to board the plane, and I just think someone should check it out. Officer Michael Patterson had been with the Metro Airport Police for 11 years. In that time, He'd compiled a record that should have raised red flags at every level of supervision. 23 complaints. 16 of them involved allegations of racial profiling or excessive force against people of color. 2 had been sustained, resulting in written warnings. The other 21 had been closed with insufficient evidence despite body cam footage that mysteriously malfunctioned at crucial moments. Patterson had a pattern. He responded aggressively to calls involving people of color in spaces where he didn't think they belonged. There was the black business traveler he'd detained for 40 minutes in first class, convinced the man had snuck into the premium cabin. The traveler was a Fortune 500 CEO. There was the Latino pilot he'd questioned for 20 minutes, refusing to believe the man actually flew for a major airline. The pilot had been with the airline for 15 years. There was the black woman he'd escorted off a plane because a passenger felt uncomfortable. She was a federal air marshal. The pattern was clear. The documentation was extensive, but somehow Patterson remained on patrol. His supervisors noted in evaluations that he was proactive but sometimes overzealous. But those notes never translated into meaningful consequences. When Patterson received the call about the private terminal, his mind immediately filled in a narrative. Someone trying to steal from or sneak onto a private jet. Drug dealer, maybe. Or someone casing the planes for later. Patterson arrived at the private terminal at 2:52 p.m. He parked his patrol car conspicuously near the FBO entrance and walked onto the tarmac. He walked with purpose, hand resting on his duty belt, scanning the area for someone who seemed out of place. His eyes landed on Marcus Williams, a black man in a hoodie approaching a Gulfstream. In Patterson's mind, that had to be the problem. He walked directly toward Marcus, who was now at the jet's stairs, greeting his flight crew. Marcus was reviewing the flight plan with his captain when he became aware of someone approaching quickly from behind. He turned and saw a uniformed officer, hand hovering near his weapon, face set in an expression Marcus had seen too many times before. "Stop right there. Move away from the aircraft." Marcus paused, confused. "I'm sorry. Is there a problem, officer?" "I said move away from the aircraft. Now this is my plane. I'm about to depart for Dallas." "Sure it is. Let me see some identification." "Officer, I'm happy to show you ID, but can you tell me why you're stopping me? Have you ever been stopped and questioned just for being somewhere you had every right to be? Type yes or no in the comments." Marcus felt the familiar heat of injustice rising in his chest, but kept it controlled. "Officer, I understand you have a job to do, but I have rights. What's your reasonable suspicion for this stop?" Patterson didn't like being questioned. Most people he stopped didn't cite their constitutional rights. They just complied. "We got a call about suspicious activity. Now, show me your ID." "What specific suspicious activity?" "Walking while black. Don't make this about race. Just show me identification." Several FBO staff had noticed the confrontation. Someone pulled out a phone and started recording. "I need your identification now." Marcus made a decision. He reached slowly for his wallet. "Officer, I'm Marcus Williams. NFL quarterback teases my hat. I've been cleared by security and my flight plan is filed." Patterson saw the ID, but his expression didn't change. "Anyone can get a fake ID. I need to verify this." Marcus also pulled out his pilot's license. "I'm also a licensed pilot. I own this aircraft. Registration N9 to 7MW. You can verify that." Patterson examined both IDs with exaggerated scrutiny. "These could be fake. I need to verify. And I need you to step away from the aircraft. While I do." A voice called out from nearby. "I've got all of this on video." Patterson's head snapped toward the voice, then back to Marcus. Officer Patterson had a choice. He could verify the information quickly and apologize for the inconvenience, or he could escalate a situation that was already being recorded. He had made this stop in front of witnesses. He had challenged someone's right to be there, and backing down now would look like he'd been wrong from the start. So he doubled down. "Sir, I need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back." "For what? What crime have I committed?" "Failure to comply with lawful orders. Trespassing on airport property. Trespassing on my own jet." "Officer, I'm going to comply, but I want everyone here to witness this." Several people were already recording. The FBO staff who knew Marcus looked shocked. His flight crew stood frozen at the top of the jet's stairs. Marcus turned slowly and placed his hands behind his back. "I'm complying under protest. I am Marcus Williams, NFL quarterback, owner of this aircraft. This officer is arresting me for attempting to board my own plane. Everyone here is witnessing this. Please record it." Patterson applied the handcuffs tighter than necessary. Marcus winced, but said nothing about the pain. "You're under arrest for trespassing and failure to comply. I own this jet. I have not trespassed, and I have complied with every order." "Tell it to the judge." That's exactly what I plan to do, Marcus said calmly, along with my attorneys. The FBO manager had come outside. Officer, that's Marcus Williams. He owns that jet. He's here twice a week. Ma'am, step back. This is police business. Do you think Patterson should have just verified the information and apologized at this point? Let me know below. Patterson walked Marcus to his patrol car past a growing crowd of shocked onlookers. Outside, Marcus saw what he'd expected. Body cameras, dash cameras, witnesses with phones, evidence. This was all being documented. Officer Patterson, Marcus said, reading his nameplate, you are violating my Fourth Amendment rights. You have no reasonable suspicion, no probable cause. This will end your career. Patterson said nothing, pushing Marcus's head down as he guided him into the back seat. The drive to the airport police station took 12 minutes. Marcus spent it memorizing every detail. He had testified in federal court twice for the NFL. He knew how to build a case, and this case was building itself. They arrived at the airport police substation. Patterson walked Marcus inside, still handcuffed, past the front desk where a sergeant looked up with surprise. Mike, what do you have? Trespasser at the private terminal. Failure to comply. Marcus spoke up, voice clear and controlled. Sergeant, I'm Marcus Williams, NFL quarterback. I was arrested while attempting to board my own aircraft N927 MWI, showed identification. Officer Patterson refused to verify it. The sergeant's face went pale. Mike, did you run the registration on that aircraft? I was going to after I secured the suspect. That's not a suspect. That's Marcus Williams. I've seen him play. Mike, those are his jets out there. Could be lying about ownership. They're real IDs, Mike. And that's really him. The sergeant looked at Marcus. Mr. Williams, I apologize. Let me verify some information. Marcus recited his driver's license number, his pilot's certificate number, and his aircraft registration from memory. The sergeant picked up the phone. Get me the FAA registry. The confirmation came back within 5 minutes. Aircraft N97 MW is registered to MW Holdings LLC, Marcus Williams, CEO. The sergeant hung up and turned to Patterson, voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. You arrested Marcus Williams for boarding his own jet after he showed you valid identification. He was acting suspicious. The clothing, the behavior, I don't care what he was wearing. You arrested the owner of a $65 million jet for trespassing on his own property. Basic procedure would have been to run the registration. Uncuff him now. Patterson removed the handcuffs with shaking hands. Red marks were visible on Marcus's wrists where they'd been applied too tightly. A lieutenant arrived within minutes. Thomas Rodriguez, a 22-year veteran who'd seen a lot, but rarely one this egregious. Patterson tried to explain. Rodriguez listened, expression darkening with each word. Rodriguez turned to Marcus. Mr. Williams, on behalf of the Metro Airport Police Department, I sincerely apologize. This is inexcusable. Marcus nodded but remained silent. He was building his case. Every word mattered. Rodriguez turned to Patterson. Badge and weapon. Administrative leave effective immediately. Lieutenant, I was just you racially profiled an NFL MVP trying to board his own jet. Give me your badge. Patterson handed him over, hands shaking. For the first time, he seemed to understand what he'd done. Should officers face automatic termination after clear cases of racial profiling? Drop your answer. Within 2 hours, the videos had exploded across social media. Multiple angles from different witnesses. The approach to handcuffs, Marcus's calm declaration of his identity, Patterson's refusal to verify basic information, NFL MVP Marcus Williams arrested boarding own jet, airport cop arrests black quarterback for flying while black watch, Marcus Williams handcuffed at his own $65 million jet. The outrage was immediate and intense. The NFL issued a formal statement condemning the incident. The NFLPA called for a federal investigation. Civil rights organizations demanded Patterson's immediate termination. Jennifer Morrison gave a brief statement. I was just trying to keep our clients safe. She was fired within 24 hours. The FBO issued a public apology and announced mandatory bias training for all staff. But the real damage was done. The video showed everything. A black man calmly identifying himself, showing credentials, and being handcuffed anyway. Civil rights attorneys contacted Marcus within hours. This wasn't just false arrest. This was racial profiling, false imprisonment violation of constitutional rights, and defamation. The lawsuit named Officer Patterson, Jennifer Morrison, the Airport Police Department, the Airport Authority, and the FBO. The claims were extensive. Violation of Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure, violation of 14th Amendment equal protection rights, false arrest and imprisonment, racial profiling, and discrimination. intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent training and supervision, assault and battery for the excessive handcuff tightness, defamation per se for the public arrest, violation of federal aviation regulations regarding interference with aircraft operations, lost business opportunities for missed meetings. The airport's attorneys reviewed the evidence and reached the same conclusion: indefensible. The videos were everywhere. The witnesses were credible. Marcus had shown valid ID that Patterson refused to verify. The airport authorities settled within 6 months, $10 million paid to Marcus Williams, additional $2 million from the FBO. Officer Patterson was terminated 3 days after the incident. The termination letter was final and devastating. Your actions violated department policy, federal law, and basic human decency. You failed to follow basic verification procedures. You escalated a situation without cause. You brought disrepute to this department. Patterson's name was entered into the National Decertification Index. His law enforcement career was over at 39 years old. Jennifer Morrison settled separately for an undisclosed amount and left the aviation industry. The Metro Airport Police Department faced intense scrutiny. How had Patterson, with 23 complaints over 11 years, remained on patrol? Why hadn't supervisors addressed the clear pattern? Internal Affairs conducted a comprehensive review. The findings were damning. Systematic failure to investigate complaints against officers. Pattern of closing investigations despite video evidence. Failure to track complaint patterns by officers. No meaningful discipline for sustained complaints. No biased training for officers working the private terminal. Culture that prioritized avoiding lawsuits over addressing problems. Supervisors who enabled problem officers rather than managing them. The Department of Justice opened a pattern and practice investigation. Their findings confirmed systemic failure at every level. Reforms were announced. Mandatory de-escalation training for all officers, automated flagging of officers with multiple similar complaints, independent review board for all complaints involving race, body cameras that cannot be manually deactivated, quarterly bias training with testing, direct supervision for officers with patterns of complaints, partnership with community organizations for oversight, automatic termination for sustained racial profiling complaints. Marcus testified before the city council. His testimony was powerful. I've been blessed with success that should speak for itself for MVPs. 3 championships, a business empire. I owned the jet I was trying to board. But none of that mattered because Officer Patterson saw my skin color first and decided I didn't belong. He paused. If this can happen to me, with all my resources and recognition, imagine what happens to young black men and women who don't have my platform, who can't afford attorneys, who don't have witnesses with cameras. This isn't about one officer. This is about a system that enables this behavior until someone famous gets caught in it. The room was silent. Should racial profiling in spaces of wealth and privilege trigger automatic federal investigation? Drop your answer. This wasn't just about one arrest. This was proof that for some people, no amount of success is enough when bias has made its decision. Marcus had done everything right. He'd shown ID. He'd stated his ownership. He was calm, professional, violating no law. And none of it mattered. Because Patterson saw a black man in a hoodie in a space where his biased mind said black men in hoodies didn't belong. The private jet didn't compute. The pilot's license was suspicious. The calm demeanor was defiance. This is how systemic racism operates in everyday spaces. It's not always violent or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, insidious, built on assumptions that seem reasonable until examined. It's assuming the black man in first class is in the wrong seat. It's following the black woman through the luxury store. It's questioning the Latino family at the country club. And when that bias is backed by a badge and gun, it doesn't just harm individuals. It sends a message. You don't belong here. No matter your achievements, no matter your rights, no matter your humanity. Officer Patterson's career is over. That's justice. The airport paid $12 million. That's accountability. Others were fired and policies changed. That's consequences. But $12 million doesn't undo being handcuffed in front of your employees. It doesn't restore the dignity of being arrested at your own aircraft. It doesn't erase the message that even MVP trophies and private jets aren't enough to protect you from bias. The real question is, what changes now? How many more successful black professionals need to be detained in their own spaces? How many more viral videos before we admit this isn't about individual bad actors? How many more settlements before we address the system that creates these officers? Because if we don't dismantle the structures that enable this bias, then we're just waiting for the next Patterson, the next Morrison, the next Williams, the next viral video, Comment if you believe this should be law. Automatic federal investigation for any law enforcement stop where the officer refuses to verify. Readily available information about identity or ownership. And if you think these stories need to be told, if you believe accountability starts with awareness and change starts with pressure, then hit that subscribe button. Because we're not stopping. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better. We're going to keep fighting for the quarterbacks, the CEOs, the pilots, the ordinary people who deserve to exist in public spaces without being criminalized. What's your biggest takeaway from this story? Drop it in the comments below. This isn't just about one officer, one dispatcher, one quarterback. It's about all of us and the world we're willing to accept. See you in the next one.